Good afternoon, ladies.
Hi there.
Hi.
Afternoon. Afternoon.
Now, we've been talking quite a bit about gender parity, in particular as far as the digital space is concerned and technology. Now, before we tackle the topic, I'd like to start with an introduction from all of you, if we can start from the corner, just to touch on who you are, what you do for our audience as well, and essentially what your organization is doing to bridge the gender divide.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Campbell. I'm the commercial attorney for Microsoft, as well as the treasurer of the Information Technology Association. So, in my two roles, I look after the public sector space within Microsoft and work closely to make sure our interests are aligned with the Information Technology Association, the ITA, which works together with government, employers, as well as specialist industries such as MICT, CETA. So we are focused on bridging the skills gap currently within the 4IR and trying to find out how we can help make every person and every organization better.
Fantastic. Now, ladies and gents, I do want to let you know that you will have an opportunity as well to ask some questions. I mean, we've engaged quite a bit throughout the day. I'm sure there are some pressing issues that you'd like to get some feedback from or gather some knowledge. So following the introduction, we will open the floor for some questions.
What I do and what I'm doing for the digital divide. Okay,
Absolutely.
so I'm the managing director and founder of Verve Digital, a company that focuses on digital transformation. But what I've done is I've adopted the exponential methodology. So I help companies now to implement the EXO attributes. I'm actually the first certified EXO coach practitioner to actually take part on a sprint in South Africa. So that's what I do. How I'm dividing the digital gap. How am I bridging the divide? Sorry, not dividing. So there are people in the audience like Oshigari here from Oracle who will know that I don't take part in many formal things, but women and technology are extremely close to my heart. So yes, I am a member of Women in Tech. I am a member of Women in IT. In fact, Verve Digital will be hosting the first combined event in September. But what I like to do is to help individuals and not necessarily mentor. You know, if somebody needs help and mentorship, absolutely. But being in the technology industry, it's not all about technology. We forget that there's creative stuff. We forget that we need to be creative and nuts and mad and crazy. And how all of these, left-sided, right-sided brains need to work together to achieve the success that we need to drive the gap in the digital divide.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Afternoon, everyone. We've got the graveyard shift, ladies.
Yeah,
Yes, we do.
At least you've got quite a few people.
My name is Catherine. I'm from Standard Bank, and I'm the executive head for digital banking, e-commerce, and social media marketing. And I'm really excited to be here. As you know, we are headline sponsors for the Top Women Awards. So already our intent is very clear in terms of our commitment to really minimizing that gap and making sure that women are effective contributors to society. In my own personal space, as a staff member at Standard Bank, when I recruit, I make sure that on top of my agenda is looking at female candidates to make sure that we bring them into corporate organizations to be able to make a difference, to be able to learn, to be able to grow. And one of our targets is to make sure that we have as many female CEOs in the company as possible. So that is one of our contributions.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Hi, I'm Georgie Midgley. I'm the CEO of a tech company called Money for Jam. Money for Jam is a crowdsourcing technology. Essentially, what we do is we pay people to undertake tasks. So those are generally micro tasks, is what we call them. And we have people on our platform that register called jobbers. We currently have about 210,000 registered jobbers on our platform, undertaking minor tasks. Walk into a spaza and take a photo on behalf of a brand and earn 50 Rand. And our whole purpose is what we talk about, taking from big to small. Wow. It's about breaking tasks into small things and letting the people in the areas do the jobs rather than paying big corporates, let's say, audit firms to go around and do those jobs, and creating new markets and new jobs while doing it. And it's all about creating jobs in areas that don't have it. So instead of people traveling, getting in a taxi and having to travel to opportunity, you move the opportunity into those rural areas. So our big focus is in the Eastern Cape, Limpopo and Mpumalanga at the moment. And most of our jobbers are female, funnily enough, because those that are left in the rural area are the elderly and the young. And although we might think that somebody who's over the age of 60 doesn't use a cell phone or know how to use it to earn an income, when there's money to be made, you have no idea how innovative and unbelievable most of our jobbers are. So my big aim from a Money for Jam perspective when bridging the digital divide is around getting that opportunity to the people in the rural areas, specifically the women and the youth.
Thank you so much, Georgie.
Afternoon, everyone. Afternoon, ladies. My name is Lena Cherwa. I'm the head of legal and corporate affairs for NL Green Power South Africa. NL Green Power is a multinational renewable energy company. And I suppose as a renewable energy company, the question is, what relevance does that have to the ICT sector? What relevance does that have to bridging the digital gender divide? Well, renewable energy is quite relevant because it's an inclusive employer. A large number of women are employed in the renewable energy sector, and in my company, particularly in NL Green Power, a lot of the leaders in the organization are women. So the head of engineering, the head of ICT, the head of procurement, the head of communications, these are all women leading these roles. And so the company and the renewable energy sector are already doing its part in terms of bridging a gender divide in a sector that is seen to be largely male-dominated in terms of the nature of the work. A large part of the work involves construction of large wind and solar facilities. And it's quite technology intense as well, but we are managing to bring women into the sector. So it's quite relevant for us and quite important for us, and we want to continue to add our voice and to bridging this divide.
Thank you so much.
My name is Monica Stach. I'm the CEO of Kotlins. We're a non-profit organization, and I guess what I do on a day-by-day basis is provide the pipeline and the human resource so that you all can do this wonderful technical and technological work that you do. So our core focus as Kotlins is to take care of young children, specifically children younger than 6. And so I also sometimes refer to myself as being the chief play officer. And so we're very passionate about taking play-based learning opportunities to every community in South Africa. Our goal to set up 500 toy libraries really helps break this divide, this gender divide, in the way that we source the kinds of toys that we source, and how we allow girls not to only play with pink frilly dolls, but also give them the opportunity to play with blocks and explore computers. And so it really starts from very young in how we source toys and how we give little girls an opportunity to play and develop the skills that lay the foundations to be participating in a world filled with science, technology, engineering, and maths.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gents, I'm going to open the floor shortly, but of course I will pose my first question to our panels. Africa, right, has the widest gap in internet use between men and women. It's something that we've heard throughout the 2 days of the conference. And of all the population that has access to the internet, women make up only 25% of them. How do we address this particular issue? We want to create opportunities for females in tech, for females in the digital space, but they don't necessarily have access. What can we do to address that?
So as Kotlins, we've recently partnered with UNICEF and the Department of Basic Education and the Lego Foundation, and we had created a platform called playsa.org, and we managed to get 150,000, mostly females, so 98% of the people that registered and completed this play-based learning courses were all women. And so in the early childhood development space, we were able to dispel all of the myths that people living in rural areas won't have access, Wi-Fi will be a problem, and mostly, obviously, we work with women and we create jobs for them through the toy libraries and play groups. And so they were our first port of call. And so I think we all, as women, should just grab the opportunities that there are, dispel all of the assumptions, and create the opportunities, and put that at the doorstep of every woman who raise children and give them the opportunity. So we had to spend quite a bit of time to overcome the fear. Fear of what does an email address mean? Can you hack into my bank account if you have an email address? Worries about retrieving certificates, not being able to print them. But we found solutions, and I think women are quite great at doing that. So let's just keep creating opportunities and not make assumptions and therefore not be brave enough to launch things that seem very ambitious. So we are very proud of the 150,000 women who participated and completed online play-based learning courses that we have launched over the last 2 years.
I think what Monica has actually said is very important about dispelling the myths.
Yeah.
There's a perception that being involved in technological work or the sector requires a certain level of aptitude, which it does, but it's more about the attitude. It's more about giving women, young girls, the confidence to enter into skills and labor force that's largely technological and driven by digital systems. So one of the ways that the professional sectors can do that is to just break this barrier, put women in the positions, hire women in those positions, because women can do it. And there are a number of companies out there that are showing that it is possible to put women at the lead of sectors that involve science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There is some research that suggests that for you to code, you don't need mathematics. It's about an application of logic, and for that, it's about confidence. Confidence that you can apply your own rationality to develop a system that works for you. Some of the formulas that Charlene had mentioned in her previous talk, I thought were quite inspirational. Very basic tools where women thought of a business model, multi-million rand or dollar business models that were just based on leveraging assets, things that you're doing on a normal and ordinary course. So I think the first thing is, let's increase the confidence of young girls and women in the STEM sectors. Let's get that education, let's get those skills in, and then we'll open up the space to more girls and women.
Now, I love the fact, I love the fact that you touched on increasing confidence, which really does start at home. As parents, you know, you're raising your kids to be confident. Now, I want to touch specifically on the role of parents in nurturing girl children in these particular STEM areas. We've spoken so much about coaching and mentoring, but we haven't really touched on the role of parents. Can we touch on that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So I'd like to answer that one. When I was working for Cisco Technologies, a very forward-thinking, innovative technology company, I was challenged with the fact that my kids were very young. They were like 4, 6 years old, or rather 6 and 8 years old. And I was challenged with everybody in the organization I work with gets an iPad. And this was ages ago. This was like in 2000, early 2010s. And I was thinking, do I buy my child an iPad? Because it's going to be screen time, it's going to have a negative effect on the eyes, it's going to be They're going to be playing games all the time. Do I buy my older child? Do I buy my boy child? And you're faced with all these decisions. And the decision I came to was rather introduce them to the technology, limit the screen time, and get them comfortable with technology from an early age. Obviously limited. There are psychological effects, there are physiological effects, but I think introduce the kids to technology as quickly as possible.
And I mean, if I could just add to that, most of Africa, and I'll talk to specifically South Africa, missed the computer age due to the lack of funding or electricity even was a barrier. Most people have gone from absolutely nothing to a device. And I think that device unlocks opportunity and parents must use it wisely. I think at the moment, 51% of the phones in South Africa are smartphones. Only 9% of people don't have a phone. So through a smartphone, you can empower your child through free education platforms. And there's just so much available now that you can do via a device that can empower them to then go into your STEM, and you can start that from the young ages such as 5 and 6.
Absolutely. I think I'd be remiss if I don't say something right now.
Maybe.
So yes, parents will shape and influence their children's environment. But I really think that, when we look at the core skills that we need in this digital age, such as communication, collaboration, being able to socially connect with people, I want to really just post a little bit of a safeguard and say, if you have to choose between a child sitting with a screen and playing with a group of friends and being physically active and building a den and swinging from a tree, you should really give play the advantage, especially in the early years. Because children miss that opportunity. And we these helicopter parents, and we overschedule children, and we worry, and we see the fallouts of that. 15-year-olds jumping off school balconies because it's just too much. This world is just an awful place. And so, yes, they will be digital natives. They will learn about technology. Please don't be fooled that every app on your phone is educational. They sparkle, they sprinkle, but they're not always educational. And I think there's a lot of work to be done to help our parents understand how do we find the balance. 100%. Sometimes for screens, sometimes for play, but definitely as a grandmother of 3 children younger than 20 months, no screen time for under 3-year-olds. None. The time that you spend talking, making eye contact, hugging, is far more important than any screen. And so if we can just understand the importance of that.
I'd like to give a...
Now you've got us started.
I'd like to give a different perspective. And here, looking mainly at your, say, 16, 18-year-olds and going up. And we spoke about how do you instill confidence in these young people. And looking at it from a financial services perspective, I think financial literacy is critical in making people and teaching people that confidence of handling money, of handling their finances. And at Standard Bank, I'm really, really proud to be associated with the work that we do. We have a program that we call WalletWise. And this is really all about financial literacy. And I urge everybody to really go and search on Google WalletWise. It has financial literacy that really transcends not just your entry-level people, but even when you think you're a sound financial planner or a sound financial, you have sound financial acumen, you actually have a lot that you can gain from what we have on WalletWise. And what we've also just recently put out to market is an account called MIMO. And the MIMO account is one that allows people to get bank accounts remotely. And here we're taking into account that people don't necessarily have maybe money to travel, have the time to travel. And we're saying maybe they've also got other things to do during the day. you can open a MyMo account in the comfort of your home. So you eliminate all of these other factors that would limit you from going into a branch. So for example, you don't need to take your documents with you. You can actually, we're using technology for facial recognition that allows people to open bank accounts quicker, easier. And what that does is bridge this divide that we're talking about. Financial literacy and financial accounts have been the realm of the male, particularly in the lower end of the market. And here we're saying, we see you, we recognize you. And here's something that's going to help you get control of your life, get an understanding of how you manage your finances, and for something that's remarkably at a low cost of R4.95 a month. So I know that it may sound like a financial services pitch, but the products are really based on the fundamentals. How do we empower people? How do we move them from the place that they're at to be something better? And I'm very proud to be associated with that.
I think
Your mic's not working.
Can we get a handheld mic, please?
Oh, shame.
You'll just scream. You can use mine.
So while you're waiting, please do Google wallet-wise.
Now that's an opportunity.
And do continue
Token.
posting as well at SBTopWomen across social media platforms. Hashtag SBTopWomen as well, while we're waiting for that microphone. Now, by a show of hands, can I see who's got any questions for our panels so we can have the mic go around in the meantime? Oh, the light. Let me stand.
There's some people over there.
Do I see hands? Okay, I've got at this table. Do we have anybody that side with some questions? Okay, we'll start with that table.
Okay. So in terms of parents getting involved, in 2020, 80% of future jobs will need STEM education. So that's pretty hectic because 2020 is next year. I think that should be a wake-up call for any parent to start getting involved, especially because in South Africa, the CAT curriculum was removed from schools. So making use of free online applications and training for your kids as well, which Microsoft has a platform, Minecraft, which is very good at starting off with the introduction of STEM, but also getting involved at school and encouraging other parents to get involved as well and having a conversation, because it starts at grassroots, where we start talking about, let's start in reintroducing STEM and the CAT curriculum back into school. That way, girls are exposed, they have access to digital literacy and to computers from a young age, and the conversation changes as well, where there's no barrier between it's for boys or it's for girls. And it's very, very key to our future, because that's where we're headed.
And Microsoft do have some excellent free stuff. So I can actually vouch for that. If I can add one more thing quickly, please. I really feel obliged to say this is to the mums and dads out there, please speak to your children about bullying across technology. And in my experience, and obviously I do have limited experience, but the girls are absolutely dreadful. Girl-on-girl bullying is absolutely rife. It's hidden, so please have that bullying conversation with your kids, especially in on a technology platform where it's not easily picked up.
Oh, very, very crucial. Can I get a handheld mic at this table over here? Second table on this side. Right over there. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you to all the ladies that are here, everybody that spoke to us. What I'm going to say now, earlier it was
Sorry, before you ask a question, can I ask you to please introduce yourself as well?
Okay. That's
Thank
okay.
you.
My name is Pumi. I'm from Liberty. They sponsored us to come here. And yeah, I think that's enough. So I was saying what I was going to say earlier, it was a question, but as I was listening to everybody speaking, because my comments now is taking into account everything that I've been taking in from all the speakers, from all the comments and everything. We've had quite a fruitful moment. 2 days here, it was very beautiful. And I was just wondering, if I look at what Dr. Saundarya Rajesh, even though she's probably not here anymore, she was talking about how she got to start what she started from one woman being deprived of an opportunity because of her circumstances and in relation to her being a woman. And then she also spoke about equity, having to apply the equity concepts to close the equality gap. And I was just wondering, there was also Shelley Machaba yesterday, the CEO of PwC, who also emphasized on what she personally is doing in order to start closing the gaps that we're talking about here. And I just started wondering, we've come a long way. We've got a lot of women already now in leadership positions. We've got all of you right here in front of us and probably in the audience as well. How much of the slow pace that we're experiencing and that we're focusing in getting to the targets that we want to get to is still attributed to women that are already in power, not pulling enough of the people that are still below? Women that are in power already still just making this about conversations and topics for conferences like this, but with no actual evidence in terms of what they're doing. So that was one of the comments. It could be a question as well.
If it's a question, can I please contribute an answer to that? So it's twofold. So one thing is, Madeleine Albright has a saying, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help women.
Yeah.
So that's one way of looking at it. There's a special place in hell for women who don't help women. Another view, though, and we need to take this into consideration, getting to the top can sometimes be really, really tough. So when you actually get to the top, you are hanging on by your fingernails trying to stay there.
Yeah.
But yes, sometimes if you do let go to bring somebody along with you, you yourself might fall. And remember that the women before us are fighting. We, have less of a struggle. The women before us fought even harder. So that's the other view that we also need to consider. Not just Catherine, right?
Yes.
Oh, Catherine's up there now, she doesn't want to know me. It's not always the case, guys, and let's give each other the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
Thank you. No, I think it does. It does. But also, I'm hoping that with my comment, it doesn't end with what you're saying. I'm hoping that everybody else who's listening, who's already up there, starts asking themselves, how can I be another Dr. Rajesh who can put up stats and say, it started with me and I've now brought up so many. And it's
What's
not
stopping
just
you from doing it?
Be the challenge.
in my little space, I am doing it. I am
Excellent.
pulling the few people that I can. I'm just
Brilliant.
not there yet. Okay. I'm sorry, there were two other comments. Like I said earlier, I was just taking into account everything that I pulled through until now. The other one is around the gender pay gap. Again, we're still talking about these things. If I look at most human capital departments, in almost every company, we've got women in those positions. So it really, I don't understand how we still continue to speak about this as a present challenge, because in my view, we should now be looking at it as we need to address what happened historically. However, in our new recruits, the people that are coming in, we no longer have such things, because the people that are signing those employment packages and all, it's mostly women. So I'm, in a sense, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I am questioning myself, what is it that we're doing wrong? Where are we going wrong as women? And the final one is just on the gender parity target that you're talking about. You mentioned it earlier, and the minister also spoke about it, that there was a target for 2095, if I'm not mistaken, now moving to 2021. My thing there is, I mean, we've got a target that we're hoping to reach in like close to 100 years, which most probably none of us here will be there. Is that realistic? Should we even have targets such as those? Shouldn't we start putting targets that we can reach in our time and say that hopefully in the future we could have a bigger target, but this is what we're targeting for now, so we can actually measure and see whether or not we're doing anything with that?
If I can just... So the World Economic Forum conducted a study in 2017. It's called the Global Gap study. But in terms of parity and gender equality and pay, they are projecting it's going to take 217 years for that gap to be closed. So it's a legacy issue, and it is something that is going to take extremely long, especially because of the stereotypes that are out there currently, and because women don't have access to to computers, to the same kind of literacy that men have, and because women also feel they aren't confident enough to approach the industry and to start working in a sector which is male-dominated. And there's not a lot of assistance out there for them. So the only thing we can do, and I think our gap or our target of 100 years is, it's aspirational. I mean, if we on a world scale looking at 217 years, all we can do is lift and help each other. Each woman lifting as we rise, helping each other, and teaching our children from a small age and starting to change the conversation from a small age. So not ignoring the legacy issues we have to address, but starting to make sure that those issues never repeat themselves by putting the correct measures in place and knowing what we need to ensure that going forward we are equal and we all start off as boys and girls on an equal footing.
May I also respond to that question? I sensed the frustration in the question, and sometimes I feel it too, because often you want to be able to determine the measure of success in the inclusion of women in society, in different aspects of society. I've got 2 points to that. The first is, not all successes are measurable, but most of them are impactful. And that comes through the attitude that we as women have towards each other. So, if it's important to you to include women in your organization, in your sector, in your society, let that be an attitude rather than a target or goal that you need to complete for a report that goes into some bonus for your own earnings. Once it becomes a mentality, it has a longer lasting impact. That's what I believe. And so then it becomes naturally for you to do things like what Catherine said, like hiring women, because it's part of your mentality. So again, not all successes are measurable, but most are impactful. The second point, you had mentioned something about targets. Are targets necessary? Are they relevant?
Are they attainable as well?
Making any sense? I think targets are very important. Targets are important because it holds people, institutions, government, society accountable, right? So if we have a goal to achieve, we need to make sure that it's realizable. And sometimes some of these targets translate into 100 years because you have to take into account infrastructural, economic, political, and social injustices, and all the amount of money and resources that it will take to solve some problems. So some targets will not be achieved in our lifetime, but it's part of sustainable development. That's what the goal is. So targets are important. There are sectors that use targets to measure success. The renewable energy sector is one of those. So in the renewable energy sector, the projects that are contracted by government through the Department of Energy have a shared value community model built into it that is mandatory. Part of that community model is gender inclusion. So in the procurement of services in renewable energy, you have to make sure that those services are not only going to black enterprises, but are also going to young black enterprises and women black enterprises. So targets like that are also a good example of how we can hold societies and organizations accountable to make sure that they do achieve. I'm not sure about what happens in the procurement space in other sectors, but I really commend the Department of Energy of how it's run the renewable energy procurement program. If you know something about the renewable energy procurement program, you'll know that a big feature of it is local community involvement and local minority partner involvement. So that's an example, if it can give you any solace.
And guys, be careful of statistics. When you see a statistic, make sure that it's relevant and you dig a little deeper. Be careful of a global statistic. My friend Val Moodley was just saying earlier, if you are looking at the global statistic around the parity, that includes massive countries like India, and it might skew the numbers. And here we are getting this global, oh my gosh, the world is terrible, there's this massive gap. Yet in South Africa, who knows, maybe we are closer to like 90 cents to the rand, you know, in terms of female, male salaries. So just be careful when you do look at global statistics.
And just to add to that, I don't think that we should underestimate the power that each and every one of us here have. You spoke to say, what are you doing personally? And I also would actually challenge each and every one of us. What are we doing in our individual capacities to carry another woman along with us? That will go a long way.
And if I could add just a little bit to what you're saying, not only bring them with you, but I chatted to about 15 girls in my office, and I said, describe your ideal boss. Every woman gave me a man.
No.
So we not only need to bring women with us, we need to also aspire to that our leaders are women.
Yeah.
You know, and I do find that is a huge issue. You know, women want to work for men and men want to work for men. So who wants to work for us?
Where does that leave us?
You know, and I think there is a mind shift there. Not only must we bring them along, we must want to go along. You know?
Absolutely.
Before we wrap, I want to touch on, Sis Phumi spoke about the differences in pay among men and women, and I'd like to get some comment on that. I think the truth is we live in a world where women work 10 times harder than men by virtue of being female. How do we, address things like the gap in salaries, which exists? What can we do in future to ensure that there is equality as far as pay is concerned, men and women?
So yes, definitely that's a fact. And I don't think that we necessarily have to accept that. But I do believe that it also starts with educating women and giving women an education opportunity, and really from early on and from very young. And it really does start in the sandpit, and the opportunities that we give to our girls, that they have an equal opportunity to experience similar activities such as the boys that's, in their area. And so as women, we should never stop seeking education, because we know how an educated woman can change her household, and it also becomes intergenerational. And so there's something in about having a good education that helps you slightly close that gap to some degree.
Any other comment?
Well, I think also women need to, it's a confidence thing too. I
Absolutely.
mean, girls are brought up to be perfect and boys are brought up to challenge. A girl feels they need to get 100% in the test, a guy gets 50% and goes, I'm ready for the next year.
Acceptable.
And I think, walk into that office and go, why is it that I'm not on the same level? And I think a lot of women generally don't want to have those awkward conversations. And it is confidence in yourself and confidence in what you believe your value is you bring, and having those conversations with the senior levels in your organization.
Do we have any more questions from the floor? Can we get a mic? Let's start at that table and then we'll move this side.
Hi everyone, my name Okay. I think mine is more of a comment than a question. And I think it speaks more to the pay gap, the fact that the pay gap is real. But I think we as women have a responsibility to also educate ourselves and understand the remuneration policies within our organizations. Because we often start working for organizations, you don't know what the remuneration policy is, you don't know what the REM model they use is, you don't know what grading your job is, and you just carry on and carry on and carry on. So I think we have a responsibility to actually understand what that remuneration model is and ask the difficult questions and demand answers around those difficult questions.
Absolutely. I saw a hand on the side. Okay, no more questions then from the floor. Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Falake Adeni Adeleye. I work in regional HR for Sub-Saharan Africa for Oracle, and I'm also a certified executive coach. And, I hear you about confidence, and I think there are times when women should also be willing to walk away. I have interviewed before where it was very clear that I had peers who we were supposed to be on the same level. And when it was time to negotiate the salary, I was going to be put on a level below. And at that time, I was very clear what I wanted. I knew that I had nothing more to prove. So it was up to you to see me as if I was coming to do you a favor or you were doing me a favor. The A part, of course, is the correct answer. So by the time I negotiated, the salary, and I saw, how do you expect me to earn the respect if already you are putting me, you are not putting me on a level playing field? And I said, okay, I'm not the one you are looking for. Let me give you names of individuals that you can contact who are actually going to take a lower pay and can do this role. Needless to say, the organization was shocked. They went back, of course I walked away, they went back, did a bit of their math and said, well, actually maybe we can pay you more. Oh, actually, again, I'm the one who is bringing the skills to you and doing you a favor. So women must be willing to walk away. Make sure you have your plan B though. But yes, walk away.
Know your worth.
Brilliant.
Now, ladies, just in closing, where we've had some really insightful discussions, where we've spoken all about, gender diversity. But in closing, I'd like each one of you to share with us why is women empowerment so important to you?
Women are mothers. They raise the next generation.
Yes.
And whatever we do as women in raising children will be repeated. And so we have to empower women to be the very best at raising children who can, both genders, equally participate in the world of technology.
Well, it's important to me because being a woman is part of my everyday life, and I feel that is something that should be acknowledged and respected, and space should be made for that in each and every single aspect of my life, whether it's a social aspect, a professional aspect, a political, civil aspect. And so for me, it's important because it's part of my humanity. And it's important that each and every one of us has the ability and the space to develop our humanity in obviously a safe space and an enabling environment. So I like to have conversations like this about how we can empower women and then also get down to more practical discussions about the hows, the whens, what are we going to do. In thinking about the participation on this panel, I marked my starting point as 1956. and 1956 being important in South African history because we had a revolution of women who changed civil and political rights for women today. And if that is the starting point and we look to where we are today, yes, we have a long way to go, a long way to go. But I also think that we should accept the strides that we've made. We should accept the wins that we've made and keep growing, keep capitalizing, keep leveraging on it. So it's important to me because I'm here now. I'm going to have others that are going to go before me as well and ahead of me, and it's important to continue.
For me, women empowerment is because every day I admire women's strength. I mean, I believe in the workplace we need to embrace our femininity, but you've got to be able to stand your own and have the confidence to do that. And every day we have to run houses, look after kids, be a daughter to look after kids, to parents, to everyone, and still come to work the next day having been up all night with a child or whatever reason. And it always blows my mind how strong we are. And I don't think we often realize how strong we are until given those challenges that we faced. And we can't believe, not only did we come through it, we came through it shining, and we came through it smiling, and we came through it without showing people how much it hurt us or how much it broke us. So that's why I think women empowerment is so passionate. It's such a passion of mine.
Personally, for me to be even sitting here is because of the assistance, the mentorship, the coaching, the love, the belief of other women in me that I was what I am, and that I'm capable of what I am. And for me, it's such a humbling experience to be able to know I can count on other women. And so I'm all about paying it forward to other women, because the potential that sits inside of us is sometimes so, it's fierce, it's unrecognized, unfortunately. Until you get people who believe in you, who take you along with you, you may never get to realize your true potential. So the reason I'm very passionate about the women agenda is because I see it in me. I could have been a wallflower, but because some people took me along with them, I am who I am today. And imagine the cumulative effect we can have, like I said, if each and every one of us just took somebody along with us.
Beautiful. Charlene?
I am passionate about women and technology and the empowerment of women because women can. And together, men and women can do so much more. That's it.
To me, women empowerment is important because nothing ever flourished or grew from oppression. And I don't... Do you want...
You are unlucky with that mic. Can we get a handheld, please?
Oh, shame. I'm just gonna...
Thank you.
I'll just...
There you go.
I think when a woman is given an equal opportunity, great things happen. And we've seen that. Women are just as capable, if not more capable, because women are... They are mothers, they nourish, and they know how to nourish. And given that power, and if we change our mindsets, we can start businesses, run businesses, and nourish businesses, the same way we do villages and the rest of the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies. And of course, a special thank you to you all for being here today. I hope you've absorbed, you've gained some insight, and I hope as well you will think about, like I said in the morning, how are we opening up the industry for women in management positions, and, you know, focus more on pulling her up rather than pulling her down. Thank you so much for being here. It's been phenomenal at the Standard Bank Top Women's Conference. And of course, we do have the gala dinner this evening. Tickets are still available, so you can purchase those on your way out. Please do enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and those of you who are joining us for the gala dinner, see you there.